Linda Katz, and I would like to invite you to come see the world's borough. Our borough has 2.3 million residents and hosts over 130 different languages. Visit one of our cultural institutions, taste foods from across the globe at a local restaurant, take a ride on our subway lines, explore our beaches or our 16,000 acres of parkland. To learn more, join our mailing list at info@queensbp.org or like us on Facebook at facebook.com/QueensBPCats.
This is New York City Controller Scott Stringer. It's my job to safeguard New York's fiscal health, to root out waste, fraud, and abuse in the city budget, and make sure all agencies work efficiently to serve your needs. The City Controller's Office is working hard to ensure that your tax dollars are being spent on programs that create good-paying jobs and help all New Yorkers climb the economic ladder. As City Controller, one of my most important responsibilities is to manage New York City's 5 pension funds, which are valued at more than $160 billion in assets. Public pensions safeguard retirement security for over 700,000 active and retired civil servants. My goal as controller is to make sure every New Yorker has an equal opportunity to succeed. Achieving economic justice in New York City is not a choice or an option. It's a responsibility. And my team and I look forward to working with you to make that promise a reality.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
¿Trabaja en la ciudad de Nueva York? ¿Tienen empleados en la ciudad de Nueva York? Soy Julie Menon, la comisionada del Departamento de Asuntos del Consumidor.
Queremos informarles sobre la nueva ley de ausencia laboral debido a enfermedad. Esta ley le exige a la mayoría de los empresarios que les concedan a sus trabajadores permiso laboral por motivos de enfermedad, para cuidar de sí mismos o de algún familiar. Llame al 311 o visite nyc.gov y busque Paid Sick Leave para saber si usted está amparado por esta ley.
This is Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer. In February, taxpayers receive their W-2 forms from employers and can start to file their taxes. Did you know that many families qualify for the federal Earned Income Tax Credit and don't do the paperwork to apply? If you qualify, the credits could be worth up to $8,000. Find out if you qualify by visiting manhattanbp.nyc.gov/tax credits.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Did you know that New York City has a store? Well, it does. It's the City Store, the official store for the City of New York, where you can find everything from gifts and collectibles to municipal publications like the Green Book, and including a diverse collection of books about New York. So come to the City Store, located in the North Plaza of the Municipal Building. For more information, dial 311 or visit www.nyc.gov.
Hi, I'm Victor Calisi, Commissioner of the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. Are you a tenant with a disability? Do you receive federal assistance such as SSI or SSDI? If you live in a rent-regulated apartment and earn $50,000 a year or less, you may be able to freeze your rent. Contact 311 or visit nyc.gov/rent-freeze to learn more about the New York City Rent Freeze program.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
Do you work in New York City? Do you employ anyone in New York City? I'm Julie Menon, the Commissioner of the Department of Consumer Affairs, and we want you to learn about the city's new paid sick leave law, which requires most employers to allow sick leave so employees can care for themselves or a family member. Call 311 or visit nyc.gov and search paid sick leave to find out if the law applies to you. Together, we can keep businesses strong and keep New Yorkers healthy.
Hi, I'm Maria Torres Springer, the Commissioner of the Department of Small Business Services. If you're thinking about starting, operating, or growing a business, we can help. New York City Business Solutions offers free services, including business courses, pro bono legal assistance, help getting financing, and much more. We can also save your business time and money by helping you train and hire the best people. For more information, call 311 and ask for NYC Business Solutions. Visit us online at www.nyc.gov/SBS or follow us on Twitter at NYCBUS Solutions.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
The city's Comptroller Bureau of Law and Adjustment settles and adjusts claims filed for and against the city. 30,000 claims are filed every year, and we are working hard every day to process these claims in the fastest way possible. Did you know you can file a claim online? Just visit controller.nyc.gov and click on Forms and RFPs. There you can also find helpful information and step-by-step instructions on how to file electronically or manually. If you've received notice that your case has been settled, please allow 90 days from the date the city receives your closing papers for payments to be processed and sent.
Hello, I'm Parks Commissioner Mitchell Silver. New York City Parks is fostering equity in our parks by creating thriving public spaces for all New Yorkers. The Community Parks Initiative is bringing that work to neighborhoods that need it most by investing more city resources, including funds, staff, recreational programming, and partnership building in 55 historically under-resourced communities. The Community Parks Initiative will engage New Yorkers in rebuilding their parks, including 35 playgrounds in the project's first phase. Our goal will create new reasons to get out and get fit, and to connect more of us to green spaces in our neighborhoods. For more information on the Community Parks Initiative, upcoming public meetings, and to find out how you can get involved, visit the New York City Parks website at nyc.gov/parks or call 311.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
Soy Julie Menon, comisionada del Departamento de Asuntos del Consumidor, preguntándole qué haría con su reembolso de impuestos.
Si usted gana menos de $60,000, la ciudad de Nueva York podría ayudarle a presentar su declaración de impuestos de forma gratuita y segura. Usted podrá reclamar créditos tributarios por ingreso de trabajo o por cuidado de menores, lo que podría resultar en hasta $10,000. Visite nyc.gov o llame al 311 y pida ayuda para preparar impuestos.
Hi, I'm Jacques Chiha, Commissioner of the Department of Finance. Are you 62 or older? If you live in a rent-regulated apartment and earn $50,000 a year or less, you may be able to freeze your rent. Contact 311 or visit nyc.gov/rentfreeze. Relais 311 pour joindre plus d'informations sur le programme Municipalité Ville New York qui empêche prix loyer ou augmenter.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Hi, I'm Bill Chong, Commissioner of the Department of Youth and Community Development. Certain New Yorkers who came to the U.S. as children may receive protection from immigration legal action and become eligible for work authorization under the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA. TYCD is partnering with community-based organizations to provide free immigrant legal services and adult education classes. For more information, call 311 or visit nyc.gov/DYCD.
Hi, I'm Maria Torres Springer, the Commissioner of the Department of Small Business Services. If you're looking for a job, want to change careers, or need job training, we can help. Our Workforce One career centers located in all 5 boroughs provide free services for job seekers. Our centers can provide you with career advice, help you with your job search, place you in a job, and of course, offer job training. For more information, call 311 and ask for Workforce One. Visit us online at www.nyc.gov/workforce1 or follow us on Twitter at NYC Workforce One.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
Trees count. Can we count on you? Hello, I'm Parks Commissioner Mitchell Silver. Trees Count 2015 is recruiting volunteers to map the street trees along every single block in 2015 from May through November. Trees are an integral part of New York City's landscape and provide essential benefits such as clean air and water. We need your help to record the most accurate tree census ever taken in New York City. Register online to become a volunteer and help us gather the information we need about your local trees. Visit nyc.gov/parks/trees count or call 311.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Hi, this is Queensborough President Melinda Katz, and I would like to invite you to come see the world's borough. Our borough has 2.3 million residents and hosts over 130 different languages. Visit one of our cultural institutions, taste foods from across the globe at a local restaurant, take a ride on our subway lines, explore our beaches or our 16,000 acres of parkland. To learn more, join our mailing list at info@queensbp.org or like us on Facebook at facebook.com/QueensBPCats.
This is New York City Controller Scott Stringer. It's my job to safeguard New York's fiscal health, to root out waste, fraud, and abuse in the city budget, and make sure all agencies work efficiently to serve your needs. The City Controller's Office is working hard to ensure that your tax dollars are being spent on programs that create good-paying jobs and help all New Yorkers climb the economic ladder. As City Controller, one of my most important responsibilities is to manage New York City's 5 pension funds, which are valued at more than $160 billion in assets. Public pensions safeguard retirement security for over 700,000 active and retired civil servants. My goal as controller is to make sure every New Yorker has an equal opportunity to succeed. Achieving economic justice in New York City is not a choice or an option. It's a responsibility. And my team and I look forward to working with you to make that promise a reality.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
¿Trabaja en la ciudad de Nueva York? ¿Tienen empleados en la ciudad de Nueva York? Soy Julie Menon, la comisionada del Departamento de Asuntos del Consumidor.
Queremos informarles sobre la nueva ley de ausencia laboral debido a enfermedad. Esta ley le exige a la mayoría de los empresarios que les concedan a sus trabajadores permiso laboral por motivos de enfermedad, para cuidar de sí mismos o de algún familiar. Llame al 311 o visite nyc.gov y busque Paid Sick Leave para saber si usted está amparado por esta ley.
This is Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer. In February, taxpayers receive their W-2 forms from employers and can start to file their taxes. Did you know that many families qualify for the federal Earned Income Tax Credit and don't do the paperwork to apply? If you qualify, the credits could be worth up to $8,000. Find out if you qualify by visiting manhattanbp.nyc.gov/tax credits.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Did you know that New York City has a store? Well, it does. It's the City Store, the official store for the City of New York, where you can find everything from gifts and collectibles to municipal publications like the Green Book, and including a diverse collection of books about New York. So come to the City Store, located in the North Plaza of the Municipal Building. For more information, dial 311 or visit www.nyc.gov.
Hi, I'm Victor Calisi, Commissioner of the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. Are you a tenant with a disability? Do you receive federal assistance such as SSI or SSDI? If you live in a rent-regulated apartment and earn $50,000 a year or less, you may be able to freeze your rent. Contact 311 or visit nyc.gov/rent-freeze to learn more about the New York City Rent Freeze program.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
Do you work in New York City? Do you employ anyone in New York City? I'm Julie Menon, the Commissioner of the Department of Consumer Affairs, and we want you to learn about the city's new paid sick leave law, which requires most employers to allow sick leave so employees can care for themselves or a family member. Call 311 or visit
I want to give everyone an update on the terrible tragedy that occurred in the East Village yesterday. I first want to say, for all of us who are working to address so many concerns of so many people, our hearts go out to the families of all who were affected and to the people of the neighborhood who have seen such horrible disruption in the last 24 hours. A lot of people right now feeling the effects of this tragedy, and our thoughts and prayers are with them, and we are working nonstop to try to address the many issues now in the neighborhood. I visited this site this morning. Obviously, total devastation of 3 buildings. One other suffered tremendous fire damage. You rarely see a scene of such devastation in the middle of a city like this. The site is still smoldering. The fire department is actively fighting the fire on the site. This was, 24 hours ago, a vibrant, bustling street, and today people are dealing with the aftermath of this tragedy. The response by all of our first responders was exceptional. I want to emphasize this. Fire department arrived on the scene within minutes. This was a very complicated, dangerous situation. 4 buildings deeply affected. Obviously, the surrounding buildings potentially at risk. Ever-changing and very dangerous dynamic for all of our first responders. I particularly want to thank FDNY, our firefighters, and their leadership responded brilliantly in the midst of, again, a complex and dangerous situation. I talked to a number of the firefighters. I talked to some of their officers, and many of them said that this was one of the toughest fires they had seen in a long time because of the nature of the explosion and the way it undermined more than one of the buildings and the threat of building collapse looming at all times. Notwithstanding that extraordinary challenge, our firefighters did an amazing job of going through all the buildings, addressing not just the fire, but of course looking for signs of life, and doing so at great personal dangers themselves. So the professionalism, the bravery, the courage of the FDNY were entirely on display in the last 24 hours. All of the other first responders working with FDNY did a fantastic job as well. A lot of people here representing a lot of the different agencies. I'll acknowledge them in a moment, but let me give you the overview. Obviously, I will start, as I did yesterday, by saying there's an ongoing investigation. There's a lot more we need to learn. We will not have all the facts until we can access 121 2nd Avenue fully and particularly get into the basement area. That's going to take time because of the amount of the debris that's been created. So we're going to give you preliminary information and keep updating it as we go along. Again, 3 buildings collapsed, the 4th very seriously damaged by fire. From what we know at this moment, and this is again preliminary, it appears to be a gas explosion, but there's a lot more we need to learn about the details. The fire again continues. Thank God it's just smoldering at this point, but it can flare up some as the debris is cleared away. So there's going to be a very heavy FDNY presence as that operation continues. Once the debris is largely cleared and the fire is fully extinguished, then there will be the ability to do a full investigation, and of course, a full cleanup of the area. That will take days. I want to emphasize at this point, it will take days. We do not have a firm deadline for you yet, but it will take certainly several days, possibly as much as most of a week, to get all of that debris out of the area and make the area entirely normal again. We're going to be very cautious about how we handle the surrounding area, how we handle traffic and even foot traffic in the area. FDNY is going to make decisions based, of course, on safety and the cleanup operation when we can open up 2nd Avenue, when we can allow normal foot traffic. But I want people to keep their expectations low on that level because we have to do this very carefully. We have to make sure that the debris is cleared. In terms of the human impact, and it is a very painful reality, 22 people injured. Thank God 18 of those injured do not have life-threatening injuries. 4, however, have critical injuries. So 4 of the 22 have critical injuries. At this moment, still no fatalities reported. Now, that being said, we have 2 people that we know for sure are unaccounted for. And there may be more. We are still gathering information. But 2 people based on eyewitness accounts unaccounted for. We're continuing the effort to confirm that and seeing if there's any other individuals that we need to look for. All of our first responders, again, did an extraordinary job. This was very dangerous. 6 members of the FDNY were injured in this operation. Again, thank God, all were non-life-threatening injuries. People, of course, are deeply concerned about their loved ones and those who may have been affected, not just who lived in the buildings, who may have been in the restaurant, who may have even been walking by. Please call 311 if you either are trying to confirm the whereabouts of a loved one or if you have information to offer about someone who may be missing. We have a center that has been set up to help anyone affected by this tragedy. It was at one location yesterday. It's now been moved to the Tompkins Square Library at 331 East 10th Street. A variety of services available for all those in need there, including medicine, mental health services, the different things people need immediately. We're also working, of course, to make sure there's temporary housing for all who need it. We've provided temporary housing for 30 individuals so far out of the 84 people who have registered for a variety of types of help. We'll talk later on about the process of re-inhabiting a number of the buildings surrounding the site. There will be some individuals who need long-term housing because their building is gone, and we will be working immediately to achieve not just temporary but long-term housing for all those displaced. At this moment, 11 buildings with 144 residential units were evacuated. Again, some will be re-inhabited soon. Others, it looks like more likely on Sunday. We're still fine-tuning that, again, in connection with safety considerations and debris removal operations. Department of Buildings will be inspecting all of the surrounding buildings to assure safety before any of them are re-inhabited. We have ongoing efforts by Department of Health and Department of Environmental Protection to monitor air quality and to monitor for any substances on the site. At this moment, Department of Health reports that air quality has returned to normal levels in the surrounding area. Our Department of Small Business Services is working with a number of businesses that have been adversely affected. Obviously, some destroyed, others damaged, and obviously all of them not in a position to be open for business, so we'll be working with them to help them out. Very important for those who want to help the families that were affected by this tragedy. There's a number of ways to do so. One is through the Mayor's Fund, which responded with great effectiveness after the East Harlem tragedy. We encourage people to donate to the Mayor's Fund to help the families that had such a negative impact on their lives. Obviously, other charities are stepping in as well, and we thank them. Look, this will be an ongoing situation. We'll be giving you a number of updates. There's going to be a lot to learn in the investigation. There's going to be a lot that we have to update people on in terms of the life of the neighborhood and how we can return it to normal. I hope all the people of New York City, while we feel pain over those who are right now fighting for their lives and all of the people whose lives have been turned upside down, I hope at the same time we appreciate that we are blessed by the finest first responders anywhere in the world. This is absolutely extraordinary what our first responders did here. It should be a cause for comfort in the midst of this pain. This city, we've said it before, but it's fundamentally true. This city knows how to handle adversity. We never welcome it. We know it will come, but we know how to handle it. People band together. People help each other out. Great acts of kindness and acts of bravery yesterday, not just our first responders on duty. We had an off-duty firefighter who literally went into the danger off-duty, happened to be in the neighborhood, climbed up the fire escape externally to look into different apartments to see if there were any individuals in those apartments. So answered the call even while off-duty and put his own life in danger. We had individuals who came and pulled a woman to safety, just bystanders who saw a woman's life in danger and got her away from one of the buildings as it was collapsing. People stepped up and helped their fellow New Yorkers, and it made a world of difference. And thank God we haven't lost anyone yet, and part of it is because of these extraordinary efforts. I want to say a few words in Spanish. I'm going to announce or introduce everyone who's here and then call upon Commissioner Nigro and Commissioner Esposito. In Spanish, estamos haciendo todo lo posible para ayudar a los afectados por la explosión de ayer en el East Village. Bomberos y equipos de rescate siguen trabajando día y noche para mantener a los neoyorquinos seguros. Nuestras oraciones están con las personas afectadas y sus familias. Again, let me give you a sense of all of the people and agencies. Here, of course, our First Deputy Mayor, Tony Shoras. You'll hear again from our Fire Commissioner, Dan Nigro, and our OEM Commissioner, Joe Esposito, in a moment. We have our Buildings Commissioner, Rick Chandler, our Housing Commissioner, Vicki Bean. We have Chief Leonard of the FDNY, Chief of Department, NYPD Chief of Detectives, Bob Boyce, Deputy Chief of Manhattan Detectives, Bill Aubrey. We have my senior advisor, Gabrielle Fialkoff, who has the Mayor's Fund, among other things, under her leadership. We have also from NYPD, the commanding officer of Patrol Bureau Manhattan South, Assistant Chief Bill Morris. We have the Con Ed President, Craig Ivey, who we've been working very closely with in the last 24 hours. And then we thank Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito, Councilmember Rosie Mendez, and State Senator Brad Hoylman, all for being here. Now I give you a fuller update, our Fire Commissioner, Dan Nigro.
Thank you, Mayor. And I would repeat, I am completely impressed by the operation of our units that arrived there on the scene so quickly and placed themselves in extreme personal risk, including our off-duty firefighter who had already been cited 6 times for bravery, and now it looks like this will be his 7th. The scene now is still one of devastation. We will begin removing the debris, and certainly we have a lot of experience in this. We did this last year. We did search and recovery for 9 months, right near here, of course, after September 11th. So whether there were persons missing or not, we would treat the scene as if there could be people there. So debris will be removed. It will be looked at completely by our members. It will be searched and before it is brought away. So that is one reason why it doesn't happen as quickly as one might think. We don't just pick it up with machines and put it in a truck and drive it away. This has to be very carefully searched. So the fire will not extend any further. We have people there to ensure that. The debris removal will begin now, and we do anticipate that we will be doing this probably for a week's time. Thank you.
Commissioner Esposito.
Good afternoon. Most of the points have been touched on by Dan and the mayor, but just to let you know that our emergency center is open over in Brooklyn. Many of our partners are there to address the needs of the city. The reception center on East 10th Street that the mayor mentioned, American Red Cross is there doing a terrific job. They're coordinating all the things that are needed for the people. We've escorted people back to the site when possible to try and retrieve medicine or personal items from the apartments, as long as safety is the main issue. So we had to take a very precautionary action with that. We've also provided housing, temporary. Right now, American Red Cross set up a lot of hotels last night. We escorted people to hotels, and we will be looking to provide additional long-term housing when and where needed. So our center will be open until the whole incident has been mitigated, as will the Emergency Management Center in our office. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Okay, we will take your questions.
Mr. Mayor, I'm wondering if there's any progress. Obviously, it's hard to get to the evidence down below under all that debris, but if there's any progress in the investigation in terms of figuring out what could have gone wrong.
And the responsible answer is to say until we can see it with our own eyes, it would be unwise to speculate too much. Again, the strong assumption is a gas explosion. We are waiting for details. There is a possibility here that the gas line was inappropriately accessed internally by people in the building. We don't know enough yet, though, about the details of that.
I wanted to clarify why Con Edison was there to inspect. Did someone call Con Ed and said, we need an inspection? Was it a random inspection?
I'll give you a quick opener, and President Ivey can come up and go into more detail. But the reason Con Ed was there had to do with previous work that they had done, that had been done at the site that they were coming to see as part of an ongoing effort. It was not related to anything that had happened specifically that day.
Sort of include into the question, you reported yesterday to us that Con Edison deemed the work that was taking place appeared to be deficient.
Correct.
Are you comfortable or satisfied that Con Edison then leaving after determining that work is deficient is enough, or do they need to do more?
No, based on what we know now, and this is based on the debrief of the two Con Ed personnel who were there, it had to do with previous work being looked at. The problems were not safety problems. The workers were given instructions how to deal with the problem. There was no gas leak detected when the Con Ed workers were there. Again, based on the preliminary information we have, no report by the workers on the scene of having smelled gas. Obviously, they would have immediately had to act if they had. So we understand it was pre-existing work that they found insufficient, but not because of safety issues. Do you want to add?
That's correct. Planned inspection of internal piping. There's no gas introduced in this piping at this point. We're inspecting it so that we can introduce gas at a future point in time. So these are engineering inspections. Again, our folks were there. They smelled no gas at the time.
You dug a big hole on 2nd Avenue to access some kind of pipeline. Can you talk about what that's all about?
We dug multiple holes around the area so that we can access the main, so we can shut off.
Just for clarity, since the explosion.
Post the event, we dug multiple holes around the area so we could shut off gas to the area to make it safe.
Right, so gas is now shut off for the surrounding immediate area. Jonathan?
Mr.
Mayor, you said that 2 people are confirmed and accounted for. You said there may be others. Earlier today at a briefing, the NYPD put that number at 6. Can you give us any sense as to who these people are? Are these people who lived in the buildings or in the restaurants or walking on the sidewalk?
Again, it's preliminary because we have to go through a full process to 100% confirm the situation of each person, so I don't want to go into too much detail, but if Chief Boyce, if you want to add.
Sure. There were 42 names that were called into the IVIS. Basically, we have to vet each one. 2 of those individuals we did know were in that location at the time. All right, we're seeking to find out where they are right now. Out of the 42, outside of those 2, we've vetted down to 1 person who's unaccounted for right now. We don't believe that person was inside at the time. However, we'll continue. But we do have 2 individuals. We released their names that we believe were in there, and we have statements from witnesses who were present who put them in the restaurant, the sushi restaurant.
So there's only one other one outside of the 2.
But
Correct.
That's not a confirmed one because we're not 100% sure the person was on the scene. Correct?
That's right.
That's right. Okay. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, just wondering if you can explain what you mean by the gas line being inappropriately accessed by someone in the building, and also just curious which contractor Con Ed met with yesterday, because our understanding was shouldn't have been any work going on there.
Okay, I'll have Con Ed speak to who they met with. Again, very preliminary information, and we can't conjecture. We only have very preliminary information. But there's a possibility that that's what happened, that there was an inappropriate accessing of the gas line. Until we do a full examination, we can't say conclusively. In terms of who your folks...
Not more to add. I don't recall the name.
Okay, we'll get back to you on the exact name they met with.
Are you ready to release the plumber's name yet? Can we get that?
Are we in a position to do that? Anyone know? Joe? That's fine. You can? Okay.
There's 2 individuals that we know right now that met with the Con Ed at that time. That is a Jerry Ioannidis and a Dilber Kukic. Dilber Kukic was the general contractor. He was injured in the blast. He has helped us quite a bit in our investigation right now. He has received some burns and he's admitted to one of the hospitals right now. He is the general contractor. He met with Con Ed with this other gentleman, Mr. Ioannidis, who was the subcontractor, the plumber.
I'm sorry.
I'll have to give it to you in a second. I don't think I have it right either. So.
Yes, in the back.
Can you tell us exactly at the time of the explosion what type of work was going on in the basement, who was in the basement, and then specifically to follow up on Mr. Kukic, when the work that he did in that basement, was it recent or was it last year? But more importantly, who was...
Okay, we can tell you what we know from, and Chief will explain what we know so far. But again, a full picture of who was where and how things actually unfolded is still going to take a full investigation. We don't ever want to take initial information and treat it as conclusive until we have the whole picture. But based on what we've heard from these 2 individuals and what we can divulge, go ahead.
Here's the timeline, very quickly. They met at 2 o'clock with Con Ed workers to discuss renovations in the building. All right, Con Ed workers at that point gave them instructions as per code, and we'll go forward with that and exactly what they were. Nothing substantial from what I understand, at which point Con Ed and the individuals left at about 2:45 in the afternoon. At about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 15 minutes later, the owner of the sushi restaurant smelled gas, and he called the owner of the building at that point, who then called the contractor.
And at the time of the explosion, who was in the basement?
The contractor, Mr. Kukic, as well as the owner's son. Both of them were injured. Actually, Mr. Kukic helped pull out the owner's son at the time. Both of those gentlemen received facial burns.
More specific on the concept that potentially a gas line had been accessed inappropriately.
We can't go anywhere near that until we excavate and see what's down there. So I can't. It would be pure speculation, and it wouldn't serve this investigation at all.
Can you tell us what has led you to believe that might have happened?
Again,
I'm not telling you I'm going to leave any. We have to go down before we make any more statements.
Based on a variety of sources, that's a possibility. But we, again, saying to you repeatedly, we will have a final answer based on the full investigation. Go ahead.
This was brought up yesterday. This is the second explosion in a year. What concrete steps is the city taking to address the infrastructure that may have led to an explosion?
It's impossible to say it's based on infrastructure at this point. That is a factual statement. We are still, of course, in the previous explosion, waiting for a final report by the federal agency that's doing the investigation. We cannot say at this moment that it is an infrastructure-related problem. It may have been some other type of cause. In this instance, we don't even have the site cleared to be able to get the whole picture. So it's just premature. These are two individual incidents, and what we need to figure out is exactly what happened. I will say now, I said yesterday, I will keep saying it. We constantly learn one painful lesson across all these incidents. People have to call 911 when they smell gas or call Con Ed. There is no substitute. Calling anybody else is not the same as calling 911 or calling Con Ed. Those are only two places that can immediately act to address the problem. So we had a tragedy a year ago, and I think a lot of people did learn a very powerful lesson, and we say that knowing that people were lost, families were torn apart, but at least at the same time, some lesson was learned that I hope has saved people's lives in the meantime. But now we see another tragedy where tragically 911 was not called, Con Ed was not called. We have to get this message across to all our people that there's just no holding back. The second you smell gas, call 911 or call Con Ed.
You said that this is an ongoing investigation, but when you say it was inappropriately accessed, does that rule out terms of maybe irresponsibility or perhaps some criminal activity?
Again, it's too early to say. It's based on everything we're seeing that's a possibility, but we'll know a lot more in just a few days.
You and the fire commissioner have described it as this very challenging fire to fight. Can you talk about what was it about the fire? Was there something feeding the fire? Is it the age of the buildings? Why was this such a challenge?
Well, those are two good reasons. Certainly it was a gas-fed fire. They were preceded by an explosion that blew a few people across the street. So the integrity of the buildings, first two buildings that collapsed, were damaged immediately. So when the members entered the buildings to do their search, they were entering buildings that were very badly damaged, and the fire was building rapidly because of the gas escaping from the basement. So they had to enter damaged buildings under extreme fire conditions, which made this fire grow very rapidly and bring that building down very quickly.
How long did it take for them to actually get the gas turned off, and are you certain that all the gas is shut down in that area?
I think, well, we mentioned before when the Con Ed excavated, I think we shut the gas off finally to the building about 11 o'clock this morning. That was the final shut off.
To the whole area. The whole surrounding area is shut off. And let me add, again, imagine this situation. The firefighters arrive to a raging fire, trying to stop it from spreading to surrounding buildings. Everything is cheek by jowl, and there's a danger it could spread very rapidly from one building to the next. But meanwhile, after the first building went, there was the danger of additional collapses. So they're literally standing on top of buildings, fighting a fire in the building, trying to save the surrounding buildings, not knowing how long the building they're standing on top of or standing in will even hold up. That's how dangerous it was. And everything was moving very, very quickly. And extraordinary bravery was shown by our firefighters going into buildings, even though they knew there was a danger that they could collapse at any moment. Yes.
This does turn out to have been unlicensed work that was taking place there. Do you believe the city needs more aggressive safeguards in place as a deterrent to unlicensed work? Do you believe those safeguards already exist? Does there need to be a more aggressive approach on?
First, we have to get the facts. Second, unlicensed work is illegal, and we constantly are working to enforce against that. And we use a lot of tools, and we'll continue to work to deepen those tools. But I don't want to conjecture on that piece until we have a full investigation.
Just to clarify, was there actual construction work going on yesterday or in the recent weeks? And if so,
Did you say construction work?
Within the building, was there plumbing or other work going on?
I know something was happening in the building, but defining it.
Permitted?
Other than what's been talked about when Con Edison came to examine that work, which was done at some point previous, we don't know what was going on yesterday, whether people were there actually doing work. But I'm sure it's under investigation, and we'll find out.
Okay. And we are still in the process of interviewing all of those who are working at the site. Until we have talked to everyone, we won't have a complete picture.
Mr. Mayor, you mentioned that the owner of the restaurant smelled gas. Did he call 911 or did he make any effort to evacuate his restaurant, or should he have?
On the first point, he called the landlord, is what we understand. He called the landlord. And I understand that anyone might think that's a common sense thing to do. The point we have to get across is there is no substitute for calling either 911 or Con Ed, because the landlord might be able to do something, but they can't do what the fire department can do. They can't do what Con Ed can do. And they have to get the first call has to go to 911 or to Con Ed. In terms of efforts to evacuate, do we have a picture of that? Once the restaurant owner smelled the gas, did they evacuate?
No, at this point, it was 15 minutes later, approximately, after he called. He sent someone downstairs. The owner went down. So, no, there was no call to evacuate, to answer your question. As far as we know right now, I don't know. When we speak to this gentleman, we'll find out more.
Just following up on my colleague's question, is it accurate to say that officials are examining the possibility of criminal activity? And if so, is the DA's office involved in this probe?
Again, we haven't even gotten to the site of the actual work. So there's certainly a possibility of impropriety, but until we get to the site, we can't determine the next steps. NYPD is involved, and they'll assess, obviously, what next steps are necessary once we get the full picture.
Clarify something. So the only work you know that was being done was this Con Ed visit? You don't know of any other, like, plumbing or construction work in the basement?
And we don't have the full picture because we have not yet gotten the full picture from the people who are working on the site.
Was there any permits for the...
Permits for anything that day?
You know?
Not anything specific for that day. There have been permits for previous work, but not for that day.
Perhaps get an explanation from Con Ed. What was the existing gas line? Why were they trying to expand it? What would the expansion give that building? And was it your workers during the inspection at 2 o'clock yesterday who give you a sense that perhaps that something was being tapped into that shouldn't be tapped into?
So there was an existing about a 1 1/4 inch gas service to the building that served a single meter to the restaurant. This expansion that we're working on, we installed a 3-inch gas service to serve the restaurant and 4 apartment buildings that had cooking, hot water, and a dryer. So that was the reason for the expansion. So they were inspecting the private piping with no gas being introduced at that point. That's what they're doing, with the goal to introduce gas to the new installation ultimately.
Yeah.
Not to belabor the point, and I understand you guys haven't been able to access the site, but what preliminarily has led you guys to believe that the gas may have been accessed inappropriately?
Again, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I'm simply going to say we've taken all the information that we've all been talking about. There's an X factor here we don't know. An option, and it certainly looks like it's a possible option, is that something was tapped into inappropriately. But again, I would ask people not to keep asking the same question over and over, because I'll keep answering to you. Until we get into that basement and get the whole picture, we will not be able to confirm if that theory is right.
Can we understand what the process, if there was construction taking place there should have been permits for the Department of Buildings, correct? What is the process that should be in place? And can the Department of Buildings talk at all about the history of these buildings and what kind of work has been permitted there in the past?
Right, so why don't we start, Rick, by explaining the kinds of things that require a permit to begin with, and then whatever we know about the previous activities at this building.
The relationship between the Department of Buildings and Con Ed?
Sure. Anything that is not ordinary repair work requires a permit. We permitted gas plumbing work in 2013, and it was inspected and signed off in September of 14, and we were satisfied that it was done in that building. So that's the relationship. And we have a database that we communicate with Con Ed and National Grid on a regular basis. So when we see that the plumbing work is installed satisfactorily, then we communicate that to Con Ed. It's up to the building owner and their contractor to contact Con Ed to work about when they introduce gas into the building. Sometimes it's immediately, sometimes there's a time lapse.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, you talked about lessons learned. I've just come from a city housing project in the Bronx that has been without gas for almost 3 months.
We want to just stay on this, but go ahead.
Afraid of a gas leak and an explosion like what happened yesterday. But in addition to that, they've all been issued hot plates that have malfunctioned, and they're also afraid of a similar instance to the fire that happened in Brooklyn last week. Is there anything that the city can do for them because they're afraid of...
Okay, we will certainly, we'll get on this today, but I can't speak to it until we get the facts. Let's stay on the issue at hand.
I have a timeline question, Mr. Mayor, about So it sounds like there were 15 minutes that went by between when Con Ed left smelling no gas and when the restaurant owner smelled the gas. And then another 15.
In two different locations. Remember, Con Ed's in one part of the building, the restaurant owner's in a different part of the building.
And then another 15 minutes between the
I
time.
want to confirm that to just make sure I'm right. The Con Ed workers were not in the restaurant, at the best of our knowledge.
They were in the basement.
They were in the basement, not in the restaurant. Right.
So, and then another 15 minutes, give or take, between the smelling of the gas and the explosion. So there are two questions. You may have just answered the first, which is would it be unusual maybe to Con Ed for the odor of gas to show up at that point in time so soon after their inspectors were there?
Well, I would say the obvious, I think I can answer this on a common sense basis. One, you're talking about two different locations. Two, you're talking about the fact that at any point, a gas odor may make itself evident, and that's when you have to act, literally the first moment you smell it. But at any point that could happen in any building. So the important thing is for people to act immediately, call 911 or call Con Ed.
My second question is there any understanding of what happened in the second 15 minutes before the explosion? And
Chief, can you fill in any more of that?
When I told you before that the owner had called the building contractor. The building contractor and the owner's son went down to the basement of that building where they were getting work done, at which time when they opened the door, that was the explosion. So that's what we know right now. Not 100% of that information. We got that from Mr. Kukik. They opened the door and the explosion happened at that point.
Okay. Couple more?
Want to do more, guys?
Thanks, Mayor. For the people who lived in those buildings and whose homes are gone, I would imagine it's highly unlikely that any of their personal belongings would be recovered. But as you dig through the building, will you be looking for people's belongings, and is there a protocol in place?
It's obviously a lot of destruction there. I think your initial assumption is sadly very true.
Yeah, we will look certainly for things that are recoverable, and the police department, of course, takes possession and finds out who could be the possible owner. Unfortunately, most of what they owned will be unrecoverable and very much destroyed.
Really fast, a semantics question.
Say again?
Basically, it's a quick semantic question. I'll be very clear on this. When you say inappropriate access, is there anything that constitutes inappropriate access other than unlicensed work?
Con Ed can speak to it. The point is, if any gas line is accessed that was not authorized to be accessed, that's an example. But again, we will fill in all those blanks. We hope to have a fuller picture in the next couple of days as we get into the basement and get the whole reality piece together. But there's some X factor here we do not know yet that we have to find. Thanks, everyone.